I don't think it's any secret that we're living in a high interest rate environment today. Most of my customers inside of Legacy Farmer in the years of 22 and especially 23 got used to basically getting interest rate increase notices from their bank on a monthly or every other month basis there, which is just kind of ridiculous when I'm saying it out loud, but it's just the world that we live in today. Now, between 2016 and 2022, more than 141,000 family farms went out of business. And I can only imagine what the numbers are going to show when interest rates have increased from 5 to 6% on most operations, clear up to 10 to 11% for some operations across the country. Obviously, the cost of capital has increased dramatically, which is only going to increase the number of family farms that are going or on their way going out of business currently. So inside today's video, I'm going to talk about how you can negotiate interest rates and make sure that you're always getting the absolute best interest rate with your bank, and exactly what things you need to have set up in order to present to your banker to put you in the position where it's you that has the leverage, not them. So let's get into it. All right, guys. So first and foremost, the number one thing that you need to have put together is you need to have organized finances. Now, what do I mean by that? You need to have a detailed and structured balance sheet, not just one for your entire business, but if you have multiple businesses, then have a separate balance sheet for each individual business. The same thing goes for cash flow. And when I'm talking about cash flow, I'm not talking about an annual cash flow that you look at one time per year. I'm talking about a month by month cash flow projection for each individual business. And guys, what you need to understand is just by simply having those two things, guess what? That puts you in the top 1% of farmers and ranchers in this country. Isn't that a little bit ridiculous? But it's just the facts and the reality of what the world that we're living in today here. And a majority of farm operations inside this country are operating in absolute chaos. They only put their numbers together one time per year, and that's typically when they're getting their operating line of credit renewed. And then they're basically shooting from the hip or guessing the rest of the year. And we wonder why family farm operations go out of business. Now, the reason this is important, guys, is because you need to understand the frame in which your bank or your banker is looking at your operation. Now, for example, if I were to come to you and you are the lender, and I come to you and say, hey, my friend, I want you to invest in Legacy Farmer. And you're saying, okay, great, I'm open to it, but I need something to look at here in order to make my decision. And what would you think if I brought to you a half-ass put together balance sheet and a half-ass put together cash flow projection, and I'm asking you for $1 million? What would you really think? There's no way that you would be giving me money because you don't have enough financial information. Plus, if I can't even give you an organized balance sheet and cash flow, then what does that tell you about how I run the rest of the business? The reason I share this with you is because you are doing the exact same thing to your banker. If you are not presenting your operation to be well-structured, organized, and just detailed with your information, then that's going to give the bank kind of a bird's eye view into how you're running the rest of the operation. And when you're not structured or organized, they're going to look at that as taking more risk, which then is going to give them more leverage to give you a higher interest rate than maybe what you actually deserve for your operation. So the reason I bring this up, my friends, is because with all of our customers inside of Legacy Farmer, every one of them utilizes our software called Farmer Metrics. And we started building out our software back in 2020. We have built this with our customers over the past 4 to 5 years. We're 200 plus versions into it now. But anyways, we built out the software so that it tells our customers exactly what the strengths and weaknesses are of their finances, but also too, it's positioned in a way where it tells your banker exactly the information they need to know in order to make the financial decisions, like on your interest rates and loan terms and things like that. Now, just to give you an idea here, back in 2021, I pushed all of our customers to go in and start renegotiating their interest rates. And in that year alone, based on the amount of customers that we had, in that year alone, we saved $6 million in interest across our customer base by being in the position to renegotiate their interest rates. And the reason they were able to do this is because prior to using our software, Farmer Metrics, their banker knew them as disorganized, unstructured, and really a higher risk for the bank than what they needed to be. And once they got structured and organized, this gave the banker and really the customer the ultimate clarity into what level of customer they were. And it also just decreased the amount of risk that the bank was taking inside of their operation, because now, as the investor in your operation, they had ultimate clarity into the finances, which means you are a lower risk credit, which means you deserve a better interest rate. So just that year alone, our customers saved $6 million in interest by simply having their numbers organized and structured inside of our software and then being in the position to go in and renegotiate those interest rates. All right, guys, now the second point here to be able to make sure you're always getting the absolute best interest rate is you need to know, as the business owner, what the strengths and weaknesses are inside of your business. And I'm jumping back over to our software here inside of Farmer Metrics, but this is exactly what it's designed to tell you as a business owner. And there's two critical things here that you need to know. You need to know, number one, what is your leverage with the bank? And what I mean by that is based off the assets that you've given them as collateral to secure your notes, how much can you still borrow against those assets? That is going to tell you what your leverage is with them. But then also too, you need to know what their leverage is with you. And based on the market value of your assets, you need to know how much money is left over in the event that the bank had to sell or foreclose on you and sell all of your assets and pay off your notes. What you need to know is ultimately what we call the bank safety net inside of Farmer Metrics here, to where if the bank had to sell all of your assets and foreclose and then pay off all the liabilities, what is the amount that's still left over after that? And the reason you need to know these two numbers is because the bigger they are, the more leverage you have as a business owner, the more leverage you have to negotiate interest rates or any other terms there, the more leverage you have to guarantee that the bank is going to always give you the absolute best service. And guess what? If they don't, by simply knowing those two numbers, you will be able to know whether you can go to any other bank in the region. And guess what? If those two numbers are pretty big and you're structured and you're well organized and everything like that, you're going to be able to go to any bank in the region and they are going to be so happy to have you because of your financial structure, your organization, and just by simply knowing the strengths and weaknesses of your business. Now, I've seen this time and time again with our customers over the years. And the thing is, guys, when you are this structured and organized here, you're not only going to know the strengths, but you're going to also be able to forecast the problems that you could be running into coming up in the year. Now, again, think about this from your banker's perspective. If I walk in and I'm in the middle of a shit show problem that's happening in the middle of wheat harvest or whatever it may be, and I'm telling the bank, hey, I need another increase in my operating line of credit, or I need a side operating line of credit because I didn't plan appropriately, we had some unexpected repairs, and now I'm past due on bills and payments and things like that. How is that going to be perceived by your banker? Probably not very well. You're not going to look like you planned very well, or like you're structured, or like you're organized. You're going to look like a business owner that operates in absolute chaos, again, which is 99.9% of business owners today inside of the ag industry. Versus our customers, they already have a detailed cash flow game plan for the entire year. And if there is a problem that's going to come up where, for example, our customers are tracking exactly what their operating line of credit balance is going to be throughout the year. So that way they know if when wheat harvest comes up in their projections, they're able to see that, hey, we could be hitting our max on our operating line of credit. So now we can start go in and have conversations with our banker in February, not in the middle of wheat harvest here in Kansas at the end of June or first week of July here, in a place of stress and chaos because we've maxed out our operating line of credit and we're just in a bad time of being able to really get an increase there in order to pay our bills. So imagine again those two different scenarios. One, you're coming in the middle of wheat harvest, you haven't planned at all, versus you coming into your banker in February when you're talking about renewing your operating line of credit and showing them the exact game plan that you put together and the problems you're forecasting that you could run into, and going ahead and getting your operating line of credit structured at the amount that you need it in February versus in the middle of wheat harvest. Two drastically different scenarios, my friends, two drastically different viewpoints of how you are positioning and how your operation looks to your banker, which again, if you know these things and you know your strengths and weaknesses and you know your game plan for the year, it's just going to give you the ability to show the bank how much of a low risk credit you are, which then gives you the ability to always make sure you're getting the best interest rate. All right, guys, the final piece here that I'm going to talk about is you need to know how the banks work. Now, to my surprise, when I first started Legacy Farmer and then I started getting a bunch of financial questions about ag banking and things like that, until I started getting those questions, I thought everybody just knew what the banks were looking at. I thought they knew how the banks operated and things like that. But the reality was none of my customers did. And it's not any fault to their own. And you were not taught this information on how the bank is using your finances and your numbers to make critical decisions on your loans, like your interest rate and terms and things like that. But the number one thing that I always train and expose to our customers is how the banks are using those finances and your numbers in order to make those decisions here. And once you know how the other team, essentially this being the bank, is playing the game here, you essentially steal all the power and leverage from them. And that is what we have seen time and time again when our customers have walked into a conversation with their bank with a well-structured and organized and detailed financial picture inside of their operation. When they walk in like this, they are the ones that have all the leverage because that banker sitting across the table knows that our customers know exactly what they're using inside of that information to make critical decisions. But that banker also knows too, with how well-structured and organized this customer is, they can go to any bank in the region and that that bank will be happy to have them because of how well structured and organized they are. So your banker sitting across that table better do everything they can to keep your business and keep you happy and keep your interest flowing into their bank, not someone else's. So guys, at the end of the day, if you can really master these three things that we talked about and really become a master of your finances and know how the bank's looking at your operation, know the strengths and weaknesses of your operation, and just know where the heck you're at financially and have a well-structured and organized operation, it's going to change everything about your financial future and how you make critical decisions inside of your operation. But also too, the biggest thing is what type of service and interest rates you are getting from the banking institutions that you are working with. So at the end of the day, my friends, this is what we created Legacy Farmer and specifically our software called Farmer Metrics for. We take people consistently from a place of disorganization and chaos with their finances to a place of confidence and clarity so that when they're walking into these institutions, they are a grade A customer that every bank would love to have, which means you're going to get the best service and the best interest rate and things like that. And you're going to have the leverage and the ability to negotiate those things with your banker as well. Now, if you want help with this, I'm going to invite you to schedule a free call with our team. You'll be able to click on a link below this video somewhere and get that call scheduled. On that call, guys, it's a pretty laid back and relaxed call. We want to learn about your family, your operation, and ultimately where you want to go. And then you're going to learn more about us and how we operate, this process and the system that we take you through that we've proven with 300 plus family farm operations over the years. And then at the end of the call, we're going to make a decision on whether or not we're the right fit to work together, and we move forward from there. So click the link below, schedule a free call with our team, and we'll talk to you on the call.